All right. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today, and happy International Women's Day in advance. This is Women Plus in Geospatial. This is our agenda for today. I'll do a quick intro for our community. Then I'll hand over to our moderator, Mariam. Then she will direct the speakers whom we have organized for you today to go through a lightning talk. Each person will go through a lightning talk for about 5 minutes, and then we'll have a panel session where you can ask them questions, moderated by Miriam, and we'll have a final wrap up at the end. So to dive in, we are a global professional network of women around the world. We have over 5,500 members across almost all the countries in the world. Um, our key mission is to ensure that we promote diversity and gender equality in the geospatial industry. If you're a member, welcome. If you're not a member, I do hope that you get to join us at the end of this. I'll share more information about that later on. And if you've attended one of our events before, welcome back. Our vision is to forge a geospatial community where all genders can thrive. And these are the three pillars we operate under. So we have the Inspire pillar, which is where our events team sits. And I'm one of the events co-leads. I should have introduced myself earlier. My name is Esther, and I'm a volunteer with the Women Plus in Geospatial community and serve as the events co-lead for the community. So our Inspire pillar houses our external communications team and the events team. Our Unite pillar is the one that focuses on our community, the growth, our circle, and our Empower pillar is where our mentorship team sits and as well as our speakers database. For These are some of the activities that we focus on. So our mentorship program, for instance, it's currently in its sixth cohort and has been able to empower about 480 plus women, almost 500, which is amazing. And they've been running for the past 4 years now, I believe. I think we have one cohort or two cohorts every year. We have lots of events around networking, both virtually and in person. We also have a speakers database where we promote people who are looking for speaking opportunities to register on, as well as event organizers to look on when they're looking for a more diverse speaker group. And we also advocate for any women plus kind of centered issues in the geospatial community. And you might ask why it's so important that we have a Women Plus organization or why we drive people. And these are some of the reasons. So I'm not sure how many women are in our group today or Women Plus people are in our group today. And if you think back on your experiences, when did you enter into the geospatial industry? Or if you've been in the geospatial industry long enough, how many times have you thought about quitting? It's either because you're facing some type of unconscious bias, or there are other issues that you're not able to maximize in your career just because you're a woman plus, or you feels like you're not able to break that leadership glass ceiling. So the community is here to provide that safe space for people, to empower people that when we're together, we can do bigger things, and also for people who have gone ahead to be able to put their hands back and support the early career people who are coming through as well and would like to change the leadership scape with our community. And these are some of our partners and sponsors. So we have Taylor Geospatial Institute, Satshaw, and Rezo Consultancy. If you're with a company or if you own a company and you'd like to partner with our community or like to sponsor any of our programs or initiatives, please do get in touch through this email here. And this is what Satshaw does with us. They help to get access to geospatial talent worldwide, and they're partnering with us to be able to hire more diversely. So if you'd like to promote your company to them, or if you have talents that you'd want to get involved with that through our community, they've sponsored a webinar with us before, and they have a dedicated job listing inside our community. And that's again, like I said earlier, over 5,000 people within the community. For TGI and Reserve, they have partnered with us in various community initiatives through our events, through our activities. One of them is sponsoring our mentorship program and ensures that these activities come at no cost to our community members. So we'd like to say a big thank you to all three of them. And we're looking forward to other people who would want to partner with our community to ensure more success and drive more growth for the community. So leading on to today's focus, our theme for today is gender maps and justice, a geospatial data for a more equal future. And these are the speakers that we have today. So this session will be moderated by Mariam, and we would have Selene, Clara, and Anne-Gaëlle with us today. So Mariam, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and the speakers and drive the session. Thank you very much to everyone again today, and I hope you have a wonderful event.
Thank you, Esther. Hello and welcome to IWD 2025. I believe we had over 300 people sign up to this have access to this Zoom webinar. So that's very encouraging to know there is a great interest in today's topic. My name is Mariam Crichton. I'm on the board of Women in Geospatial and Inspire Lead. I'm also the co-founder of and CEO of Seven Satya. Seven Satya provides global location, environmental, social and governance insights to businesses. And whilst most of my career has been in geospatial applications to the environment, I have spent quite some time in the field of international development, specialising in digital projects on gender justice, gender violence, and women's health and education, which is why today's panel and speakers and topic is very particularly close to my heart. Right, that's enough about me. So today we have three amazing speakers for you, Anne-Gaëlle, Clara, and Selene. They will each do a lightning talk, and then we will move on to about 25-minute panel discussion where we will take questions from you in this audience, a very global, diverse audience. But first, by way of introduction, I'm going to read the bios of our speakers out, and then you will be blown away by them before they've even opened their mouth to speak. Right, I'll start off with Selene. Selene Yang is a Latin American queer feminist in social communication from the National University of La Plata, co-founder of GeoChicas, collective in the OpenStreetMap and OSGS Geo community. She's a research fellow at the Digital Civil Society Lab and the Center for Comparative Studies of Race and Ethnicity at Stanford University. Selene currently works at the Wikimedia Foundation. She's also the Latin American regional leader for Chaos and advisor in the Latin American Caribbean region for GitHub. She's part of the FAIR network, Tierra Común, and the Communication with Public Policy Research Center of the School of Communication of the UNLP. So, yeah, you can see what I mean by blown away. Selene, I hope I haven't missed all your current involvements. If I do, apologise. And Clara is a geographer in the World Bank's Global Operational Support Team in DEC Data Group. With over a decade of experience in GIS and remote sensing, Clara is interested in leveraging geospatial technologies to support sustainable development and climate change mitigation and adaptation. Clara, that is an area I'm also interested in. We must talk after this webinar. Ange's background, when I read Ange's background, I wish I had her background. Ange is a conservationist and geospatial consultant passionate about the intersection of people, nature, and technology. With a background in zoology and media studies, she spent over 5 years in biodiversity conservation before transitioning to geospatial technology. She co-created the AfriTech Fellowship to empower women in STEAM and launched AfriTech Connect Space for knowledge sharing. As a 2024 Mandela Washington Fellow, she advocates for cultural and natural heritage conservation and socio-ecological justice, working towards a more inclusive and sustainable future. Right, so there you go. That three amazing speakers, and without further ado, I'd like to invite Anne-Gaëlle up to speak.
Thank you so much, Mariam. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be here with all of you today. So as Mariam mentioned, I was a Mandela Fellow last year, and I would like to actually start this talk by saying a quote that I came across while I was in the US last year, which said, "If it is not on the map, then it does not exist." And the way it resonated with me was that when you are not on the map, you're not part of a conversation and much less part of a decision-making process. And I know what I am saying because coming from a tiny island, more often than not, we are simply not on the map. For those who don't know, I am from Mauritius, which is a tiny yet amazing island in the Indian Ocean, which is why it has always been very important for me to change that narrative that often deserves those who are not seen. And I didn't, as Mariam said in my bio, I did not start in the geospatial technology field. I was initially in the conservation field. And though I did leverage GIS and maps to study the movement of birds and the population density, it's only after I left this field that I realized how much potential location intelligence actually has. Location intelligence, as everybody says, is everywhere. And it is in conservation, it is in urban planning, disaster response, or public health, policymaking, you name it. It's even in education. But more importantly, it's about people. And it is a tool that we can leverage to make better decisions. And one thing that we often talk about is the importance of women's education and how should we always kind of bring them into the climate change discussion, but we do not realize how deeply it's connected to geospatial knowledge. As the UN reports, 80% of people who are displaced by climate change are women. Yet, when policies are made, when disaster response is planned, even when resources are allocated, how often is gender even considered? Or how often are women part of those discussions? And for me, that's why education, more specifically geospatial education, matters. And that's why it should matter to everyone. Because when we understand the power of location data, we can advocate not only for ourselves, but also for our communities and the environment which is around us. For me, the problem is access, yes, but it is also important to have a capacity building that goes with it. Because I've seen firsthand in Mauritius here how low the geospatial literacy was. And did we have access to those tools? Yes. But did people know how to use it? Not necessarily. And the reason I'm saying that is because here at the University of Mauritius, for instance, there is over thousands licenses that are given by ESRI to the students of the university. But out of those thousands, only 20 were being used up to 2 years ago, which is crazy, which is something that we should leverage more. And for me, that was a gap that needed to be filled. And that's where the AfriTech Fellowship came in. With the founder, who is Véronique Couty, we created the AfriTech Fellowship to equip African women with the skills to competitively pursue careers in the STEAM field. Yes, but not because they needed to prove themselves, but because they already have what it takes. We are simply providing them with more tools like project management and inclusive leadership talks, and then geospatial technology, also wellness, and a stronger network. And with two cohorts, we were able to empower 20 women across Mauritius and Africa. And now AfriTech is also an organization, and we keep on talking about those topics. But we are not training them to become geospatial professionals. We are building project managers, leaders, or change makers. We are building communities of women who will step up take up space, and make data-driven decisions that affect real lives. And if we want a world where policies are fair, where climate change responses includes the voices of those who are mostly affected, where education or safety and resources are allocated justly, I believe that we need more women who understand the power of geospatial technology. And as I said at the beginning of my talk, when you're not on the map, you do not exist and you are not part of the conversation. With women on the map, not only are we building more chairs at the table, we are also creating a world where better decisions can be taken. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anga. That was really, really interesting fact. Out of 1,000 licenses, only 20 were used. It's unbelievable. And it's very smart for you to spot that gap and create an initiative to help fulfill that gap. Right, so now we will move on to hearing Clara speak.
Yes, hi everyone. I have a different approach than Anne-Gaëlle, but I will build on what she said. I will share some my screen and some slides for my narrative, if you can bear with me. Just a moment. I apologize. Can you tell me if you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see the presentation, Clara, and it's at full screen.
Thank you. So to build on what Anne-Gaëlle said, if you're not on the map, you basically don't exist. And so I'm a geographer. I am not a gender specialist, but having worked across all sectors of the World Bank, because our team provides operational support across all sectors, we noticed that whenever we talk about women and gender issues, there's nowhere any talk about spatial data. It doesn't go into the equation. And so 4 years ago, I started an effort with my team to put some of these barriers that women face that Anne-Gaëlle also mentioned, like accessibility and safety concerns on the map. And we were looking, and we are looking specifically at how the environment in which women live affect their employment opportunities. So the Geospatial Operational Support Team that I'm part of is looking at how we can leverage geospatial data to support the evaluation of women's employment opportunities. And I'm going to go very quickly through some slides because it's good to have visuals to explain where we're focusing on. And we do hope that these are resources that can inform, your work in whatever domain you activate. And yes, we're building on evidence that suggests that women perceive and experience spaces in ways that differ significantly from men. Women are more likely to take jobs closer to where they live and to accept lower wages if they have to do shorter commutes, because it is a specific demographic that has unique challenges. So to understand how geography and spatial features influence women's career progressions and employment opportunities is essential to develop policies and programs that can reduce the gender gap. This is just a slide to say that we are aligned with the 2024-2030 World Bank Gender Strategy, and we at GHOST consider that geographic factors must be incorporated in all the discussion so that it helps us gain a comprehensive understanding of the barriers that women face when accessing jobs. And we believe that it is important to employ spatial tools and indicators to understand these gender disparities. So we have focused on the past years to build the Geospatial Women's Employment Analytical Framework that accounts for the characteristics of the location where women live. Where women live, the environment in which their daily life happens plays a crucial role in shaping their opportunities for jobs. This framework that we are proposing categorizes geographical region based on their level of support for enabling women's access to employment. It identifies 15 critical spatially varying factors that influences women's job prospects. We have 3 main dimensions that we're accounting for: the contextual, the accessibility, and place characterization. The contextual dimension focuses on laws and policies that shape workplace gender discrimination, financial independence, and broader gender empowerment. The accessibility dimension is about women's daily mobility and travel patterns, which are distinct from men's, and they must be accounted for if we are to integrate women in the society in an equal manner. It is emphasizing the proximity of essential services to their homes. We are looking at women's travel patterns, access to public transport, to education and training facilities, to health facilities, and to financial facilities. Lastly, the place characterization dimension is looking at the exact environment in which women live, the characteristics of the geographical area in which they spend their lives. It's looking at indicators such as walkability, safety, exposure to natural disasters, all of which greatly influences women's choices and freedom. And so there's a whole framework that, I'm happy to provide the link to whoever is interested to explore. But basically what we're doing, we are computing a new indicator, and we're proposing this indicator, to be taken up by institutions and GIS specialists all over. And it's called the Women's Enablement Environment Score, which basically characterizes a geographic region with regards to their level of enablement in 5 classes that go from very low enablement to highly enabling. When we pair this with the location of jobs, we can answer 2 main questions. In which regions do conditions most favor investment in new projects? This is an example that we ran in St. Lucia for renewable energy projects. So in which regions should we invest? Because this location will attract more women in the workforce, or the other way around, what factor improvements are necessary to facilitate increased participation in these industries among women? And I want to take the advantage of this opportunity to invite you to enroll in the virtual course that we are preparing, and that it's starting April 1st, the Geographic Considerations in Evaluating Women's Employment Opportunities. It is a free course open for everyone to enroll by the end of March. It's a 2-hour course with interactive videos, with tests, and at the end there is a completion certificate that will be handed out. It will help you develop a deeper understanding of how geographic factors and gender considerations intersect to shape women's economic empowerment globally. And I had a slide just to give, we also have, sorry, this is quite big. We also developed a tool, which is a QGIS plugin that's available right now in the QGIS plugin repository. It's an experimental version till we fix some things, but it's fully functional. And we invite you to test it out. This allows for the practical implementation of the framework. As you can see from the screenshot here, it's very nicely built, and it has a user manual available on GitHub that takes you step by step for you to replicate this analysis using open data or proprietary data, whatever you have at hand, and to compute the women's enablement environment. And if you are interested to learn more about this, I'm putting here the names from LinkedIn, from the core team, and we invite you to get in touch and to brainstorm together on how this can be built upon and how it can, be applied in real life projects and situations, and how we can together put women and their issues on the map. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. I 100% agree with a lot of those facts in the framework. I also have suffered the same things of, being a mother, needing to do nursery pickups, having to be physically close to where I live in the nursery, and there being a shortage of geo jobs where I live. And the framework that you put together would be really useful to employers who genuinely care about diversity and inclusion, and we'll be sure to share that course widely in our community. Thank you. Right, let's move on to Selene. Selene, please, can we hear you speak? Selene, you're on mute.
5 years and still, I was saying, can you see my screen? And most importantly, hi everyone, I'm Selene, but most importantly, can you see my screen? Because
we can.
Open. I can see anything.
Beautiful yellow screen, and we can hear your voice.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Selene Rappaccioli. I'm located in Costa Rica. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a co-founder of the GeoChicas Collective. Also, funny enough, that two other co-founders of GeoChicas are here in the audience today. So huge shout out to Selene and Miriam who are there. If you have any questions, you can ask them as well. A little bit about GeoChicas. We are a self-organized collective or group we are a feminist group that doesn't only have geographers or mappers, like formal cartographers per se. We're a really interdisciplinary group. We started off in 2016 within the OpenStreetMap community back in Sao Paulo for a State of the Map Latin America conference, which is the regional Latin American conference for OpenStreetMap. Currently, we're around 300 women across, I think, 32 different countries, which is really amazing. The three pillars in which GeoChicas is founded is to understand the role, representation, and participation of women in geo communities. And when we say women, we need to always be mindful that we are open to everyone who considers themselves who considers themselves women. So this also includes trans women, cis women, also any non-binary person that would like to participate as well. So yeah, that's part of GeoChicas. When we started working, we started considering the importance of creating geo and spatial data with a feminist perspective. And the idea of this, I know it can sound really vague and abstract, but try to understand it from like this perspective. If you see this really small example here, the first one is vending machines for feminine hygiene products, and the second one is a vending machine for condoms. Now you can see the amount of objects mapped for feminine hygiene, which would be, if you see it like here, 10. If you see it for men, it's 1,000 something, almost 2,000 points mapped on OpenStreetMap. This doesn't only show us the inequity in terms of the access to spaces from different genders, but it also tells us how even things like sexual and reproductive rights are being put in spaces that are masculinized spaces, if I can say, right? Like it would be like the men would be the ones in charge of getting the sexual reproductive things like condoms rather than women. Women would only get, like, for example, tampons, if that makes sense. For us, we understand that space is completely intervened, if I may use that word, by gender. And you can see it like in a really clear way with this example. So we started creating activities in which we could create more and more data that is consistent and necessary for women and all of the other underrepresented and marginalized genders that would exist out there. So for that, we have supported like editathons, mapathons. We are also currently having something that we call Mapathon, which is like a mapathon that is specific towards producing more data for services for women who have experienced gender violence. I'm going to share you the link to that in a bit. We've also done a lot of like photo mapping coverage in spaces that we know that the formal or more usual photo mapping companies, for example, do not have access for, like, an example, Cuba, or like for disaster relief purposes in Oaxaca after the earthquake in Mexico, for example. We also have other kind of projects that are not necessarily producing geodata, but they are visualizing different disparities around the inequities of women and men in the public space. So for example, the Streets of Women, it's a project that shows you the amount of streets that are named after a man and after a woman in different cities, and also gives you the percentage of that. And it also, this is one of the first projects that we did in collaboration with another movement, which was the Wikipedia movement. It also gives you the percentage of how many articles are written about the biographies of these people. And one of our last, and I want to invite you all to this, is that we're creating an atlas for what we're calling the spatialized memory of the feminist movement across the world. So each year for the past 5 years, pretty much, we've been mapping all the actions across the world around the International Women's Day. So for example, you can see here the map we did from last year. We're currently working on this year's. So you can see a lot of what's being mapped out there. We also understand the importance of the graphics. So this is also like a graphic memory of the movement. And so the idea is that we want to utilize the maps as devices to challenge the power of the things that they used to represent before, right? So we understand the importance of having like ethical feminist methodologies into creating spatial data and geodata. And I know we're almost at time. So I really just want to invite you all to participate in the 3 activities we're conducting for International Women's Month, I would say, which is mapping the activities, as I said, for the Atlas. Also, if you can respond to this is the 2nd year that we're doing a gender survey on OpenStreetMap and us geo communities. And we really want to have like a baseline to understand the demographics and any kind of violent situational harassment that has happened within our communities. And lastly, as I was saying, we have this mapathon that is directed for women to create data around services that are for women who have experienced gender violence. So with that, that was fast. Thank you, I'd say.
Great. Thank you so much, Selene. I must say, lucky I was on mute. I was laughing so hard with that example there. 1,992 condom machines. I hope they're getting used.
And that's also, and that's like that. I think that I took that print screen like, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe. So let's see how it is now, right? Hopefully better, but I doubt it.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. That's 3 fantastic speeches from our talkers today. And now we're going to open it up to the audience to take some questions. So we're running slightly short of time, but we will take as many as we can. Questions? Feel free to write your questions in the chat there. And I guess while I'm waiting for some questions to come up, here we go. Right, that was easy. Does GeoChicos have an organization website? There you go.
Just to say that not currently because we're like migrating to another server and stuff, but you can follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So while I'm waiting for some more questions to come up, here we go. Are there any geospatial raster data sources that show granular gender statistics? So, so raster, not vector, and detailed gender statistics. Don't know whether Clara might know the answer to that. Do we have? Because a lot of the time we see vector data, but oh, someone said for 8-meter mapping links above. Clara, do you have any ideas?
Oh, I thought I was checking the chat. I thought that was the answer to the question. I was trying to understand the answer. So from my knowledge, I have not worked with any raster-based data set on gender statistics. I know that the World Bank Group Gender Portal recently started computing gender statistics at sub-admin level, which is an accomplishment compared to how we have used gender data so far. So I encourage you to go on the gender portal and see everything that they're doing. I hope they will be, more and more granular, but at the raster level, no. However, what we're trying to compute is women's enablement environment. This is computed it is a raster file. You can, of the resolution that you choose based on the input data as well. So it's not close, but it is something that shows the spatial variability of the indicator. But the short answer is no, and I hope the alternatives I provide are useful.
Thank you, Clara. Does anybody want to add anything else to that question? Okay, great. So we've got another question, which is what GIS technology do you use? I know Clara mentioned QGIS. Are there any other websites and or softwares that you prefer to use? So what kind of, GIS tech, what's your stack?
So we are, I mean, depending on the analysis. Oh, I'm part of the geospatial operational support team. We do all sorts of analysis, right? We use all sorts of codes and cloud based computing. It really depends. For this work in particular that I mentioned, this is a QGIS plugin that leverages QGIS functions. It's built extremely clever by Cartoza. I'm sure you all know by them. We collaborated with them. They're just absolutely brilliant. And they're basically leveraging geospatial operations and analysis that are inbuilt in the software. We are making use of open data for this analysis, but of course it can be replaced with whatever. And yeah, websites for open data, if that is the question I should go into, range from the global repositories, OpenStreetMap, Mapillary, from where we extract data, to reputable sources such as NASA datasets or other universities that produce. So we are using a wide range of data sources, but the platform for this analysis specifically, it's QGIS. I invite you to go on the GitHub page. It's super detailed, everything presented, including the data sources. And yeah, that is the answer from my side, and I'll leave it for the other.
Thank you, Clara. It was really, really informative. Selene, Anne-Gaëlle, want to share anything that you're using?
Personally, I think I would just out of what Clara already said. So I did start by using QGIS when I was in the conservation field. Most of the time, we would be using QGIS, but I do leverage mostly ArcGIS platforms now. I do work a lot with story maps by creating stories with community members. So we've realized that story maps is better to kind of visualize data better and showcase it to the communities. And I think that's it for me. And like she said, she already said plenty of sources of already, but Esri also have a Living Atlas of the World where you can get a lot of data as well.
Thank you, Anne-Gaëlle. I don't know if Selene wants to add anything to that.
I wanted to echo to what I said on the chat, that it would depend really much on the tech level of the person, because we can say things like, okay, you can just download QGIS and start working. But we understand though that for women, there are many barriers who are really symbolic, and there are also very other barriers who are pretty material for them to access and to have the ability to utilize any kind of these softwares. So I would also say that it would depend on that, and it would also depend on whatever is it that you want to do. Do you want to have you want to do a geospatial analysis, or do you want to do just database or something? So I would say it would depend a lot, but a lot to what Clara and Anne-Gaëlle already said, QGIS, of course, taking data from OpenStreetMap and so on, always giving the attribution to that. And yeah.
Great. Okay. I'm going to ask two questions together because they're kind of related, and you can choose to answer which one you want. So we've got two questions. One, can I get guidance on career? I'm planning a switch from research to academia to urban green consultancies, industries to help. So, any advice you've got on someone switching careers? And also, is a master's degree or postgraduate studies a viable option for women to access opportunities? And what kinds of barriers can one face getting into academia? So one is switching career themes. And one question is relating to what kind of barriers does a woman face getting into academia at a postgrad level? So if you've got any comments on that?
I just got my PhD a year ago, and I can say that it is not true, the fact that for women and underrepresented genders, there are many barriers that men cis men especially, do not face. And pretty much just from the beginning of selecting whatever program that you're interested in, that has to be a combination between what are your personal interests and what the program offers. For example, for me, it was a huge struggle because I got a PhD in social communications in the social sciences school, to actually create an entire dissertation about feminist mapping. So you have the barriers of the general gender barriers, right? Like we have to work more, we have less ability to, like, we are mostly caregivers in our homes, with our families, with our partners, with our kids, in case you have kids, so on and so on. Then you also have the fact that getting into technical programs, it's really complicated, especially if you're not a tech person. If we're talking about like GIS, more specific oriented programs. But if not, I would really advise, if you're more into like researching and understanding the different, like from a phenomenologistic perspective, I'd say, what happens within space, territory, the land, and so on, get into like something more close to social sciences and less technical. But if not, I would recommend like trying to get peer support always. Find all those other women, other people who have gone through this, and talk to them. But the barriers are there. We pretty much know the barriers.
Thank you, Selene. That was really fantastic. Anga, Clara, any comments on those two questions?
To what Selene said, that I want to echo the mentorship idea. I think it makes the difference in the world to have someone to speak with about this. And my only comment, so I'm not I don't have a PhD. I haven't pursued academia further. But the switch to the geospatial field, I just wanted to make a comment that it is extremely competitive right now, and it is stressful to stay on top of everything that's happening. And if you want to make the switch, yeah, and have good chances, you need to be on the same level with the recent graduates. And right now there is a big focus on AI technology in geospatial. It's something new that AI is taking over the world at this incredible pace in every aspect of our lives, but especially in geospatial, there have been advancements that it's difficult to keep up with. So these are considerations, that I would encourage you to pay attention to, so that when you want to make the switch, that you are relevant in comparison with the competitors, right? And with the knowledge that they come equipped at the table.
That's a very, very important point, Clara, because yes, AI might take away some skills needed. So it's important to think, if you're going to do a master's, you're going to switch career, what is the impact of AI in a few years on that? Thank you so much. Anga, anything to say about switching career and going into academia?
For me, just like Clara, I didn't go and pursue my academia further, but maybe I will in the future. So maybe that's a question that I also need the answers to. But what I would say is sometimes taking the risk is what it takes, because you don't know what it's going to look like until you try it. And there's a lot of things that people are going to tell you won't be able to do it. And most of the time, like Selene said, male when it's male biased, a lot of people around you will deter you from pursuing this career. And we saw it with AfriTech when we created it, how much people were very reticent to actually apply for the fellowship, because for them, when there is the word tech in it, it's basically linked to men, and there was also a man who actually applied for the fellowship when it's actually for women. So it showed us how much male actually have the confidence to pursue those careers, but women need that push. And like both of the other speakers tonight said, I think mentorship and support system and community is very important in those discussions, because you need to know that you're not alone in this. And as again, I come back to the AfriTech Fellowship. When we part of our fellowship is also wellness, and one important thing that we've realized through this fellowship is how when we come together, we realize that we are not alone, because a lot of the time we think we are the only one living that situation. And then when we talk to the community, we realize a lot of us are in this together, and it helps us make better decisions. So just take the risk.
Thank you, Anga. And it's true, no matter how senior I've got in my career, I've always needed support and someone to talk to, and a little push at every step. Selene, you want to say something else?
I want to chat a little bit that, for example, IGU, the International Geographic Union, for example, they have specific groups that are around, for example, supporting women into getting into academia. There are also like support groups to like co-work together and write our dissertations together and things like that. I mean, the community ultimately ends up being the only thing that can actually just like, so yeah, just wanted to say that, look for it. It's out there. There are
That's
many
amazing.
groups open.
Because that whole co-working together, if you're neurodiverse, like I'm dyspraxic and I've got ADD, so then that co-working, even someone virtually online with you,
Body doubling and
body
stuff.
doubling,
Yeah, it
exactly.
really works.
Exactly. It's great to know that exists.
I'll look for the group and I'll put it on the chat right now.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one question and then we're going to go to final insights. But I really love this question from Karina. Karina has asked, what community outreach techniques have you all seen been successful in pulling in data that might be more niche gender topics? And are surveys proving to be still useful? So this is really about the data collection and what kind of community outreach techniques are people using? Because in my experience, we do this a lot in international development, but I don't know how, widely, commonly known social impact community surveys, outreaches, these techniques are known in geospatial. So have you seen any? I'll repeat that one more time. What community outreach techniques have you seen being successful in pulling in data that might be more niche gender topics? And are surveys proving to still be useful? Anyone up for that? Anyone brave enough to take that? Yeah, because
I can start, but I have a lot of input. The only avenues that we explored in my team for the projects that we did were mapathons. That is the only option that we have available, and it is a very nice way to include our World Bank colleagues, because we are often supporting teams that work in countries. They have a direct need, they don't have the data, they have maybe some contacts in the country. So we organize a mapathon where we bring the headquarters team, our team, and people in the country that they partner with, maybe universities or whatever, and we give it a go, right? We make a collective effort to collect data. However, digitizing data from satellites doesn't have the local context, so we can't go very deep into that. But we had a successful collaboration with the youth mappers, if you are all familiar with. So they have people on the ground, and if it is a project, you can apply with a project idea, and if they take it on, they will use local resources. They will use people on the ground that have the knowledge to gather the data, so it can come with the local insights. But I'm also very eager to learn if there's something else that we missed, because we would like to support and also / take advantage through a collaboration when the project needs occur.
Great. Okay. Anyone else to answer? Otherwise, I'm going to break the rules and give my answer, because I've worked in international development where we didn't use geospatial data, but we had to do a lot of monitoring and evaluation. And so we specialized in program design, and we specialized in reaching women particularly in rural communities. And so we had to be really smart with how we found out information about the community to map things like mother and malnutrition techniques, baby and mother, gender violence, etc. So the techniques we used were in, of course, if someone's got a smartphone, great. But if you don't, you have to design surveys that are compatible with the old brick phones. And then you're making an assumption that someone can read. So as well as doing emails and surveys, we did text messages for people that had no internet in rural places. And then I was part of a project where we created 1,000 text messages and 1,000 for the GSMA, 1,000 voice messages, because that assumes that women have digital literacy. So when you're in rural areas with no internet and people might not be able to read, we used voice messages and voice recordings to people's phones to create outreach techniques. So that was my little 2 pence. And now, quickly, I'd like to go around to Selene, then Anne-Gaëlle, then Clara, to ask what's your final comment, your final leaving thing before I pass on to Esther. Final words of wisdom.
Should I go first? Okay. I would say that in times like this, the context, the political, geopolitical context, cultural, social context that we're living in right now, which is pretty chaotic for most of us, I would say that the best thing we can do right now is just find community. Find community and find a space where you feel safe, where you feel like you can actually ask this kind of questions and don't feel like, oh, don't say like, oh my God, I feel so stupid asking this. Like, no, there are no stupid questions. There are really stupid answers sometimes, but no stupid questions. So yeah, I would say that for me, it's like find that group that supports you right now. And from there, you'll be able to do so many things.
Thank you so much, Selene. It's amazing no matter how junior or senior or where in the world we are or what our gender, identity might be, we all feel that need to not be judged and need that support the same.
Also, yeah, feminism is inherently collaborative, so.
Great. Anne-Gaëlle, would you like to give us your final parting words?
I was gonna say community as well, because for me, community has bring me where I am today. So I think it's also finding spaces where you feel like you can just be yourself. And I would also add that we should be bold and just be what we want to be, because like Selene mentioned, we are living in a pretty chaotic era or period in our life. I think it's impacting all of us. And the one thing that we can do is just being ourselves and not letting everything that's happening around us, all the prejudices, everything that people are telling us, actually tell us what our identity is or what we can do. Because if we take everything that people are going to say, we are going to stop living our life. And I think that's what I would say.
Thank you, Anne-Gaëlle. So stay grounded and be authentic. Thank you. It takes a lot of courage to do that. We've got to be strong. Clara, your final words?
Yeah, thank you. Building on the encouragement to be bold that Anne-Gaëlle shared, I think it's important that we're proactive in our work, in our mission, and put ourselves on the map, because we've been waiting for so long that, gender issues have a spatial representation and they are an integral part of project design, of policy making, and it's not happening at the pace that it should. In this project that I started, no one asked for it. I just pushed it forward. 4 years later, we have this, thing that we're still pushing it forward in people's agenda, although no one is asking for it. And the same with the examples that Selene shared, right? Let's be proactive. Let's use every opportunity we have to put data out there, data that is specific to us, to women, that can inform policy whenever they think about checking these repositories to see if the data exists. I would encourage us to be creator of data, because that is in the benefit of everyone, if we have the skills, the time and knowledge, and participate in all these events where new knowledge and insights can be generated.
That's fantastic, Clara. Be a creator of data, because I've had research done, geospatial and non-geospatial, on social impact, and there's very little geospatial social impact data out there. So you know, we're women, we care about it. So if we don't create this geospatial social impact data, it won't exist. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. The audience have been brilliant with your participation and questions here. I'm going to swiftly move on to Esther to wrap us up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariam, and thank you to all our speakers. What's happening with my slide? Okay, just to be sure that I can share my screen again. So I've put the feedback form for this event in the chat. Before you do leave, please do give us some feedback. Let us know how you thought this event well. I know I've seen a lot of comments saying it's been inspiring, motivating. Thank you so much for attending. Well, do give us that feedback, and it will also let us know what types of events you'd like to have us do in the future and what kinds of people you would want us to invite again. And yeah, so the final thing I probably wanted to say outside of a feedback forum was, yes, do join our community. We're 100% volunteer run. It's free to join for anybody as long as you identify as a woman or a woman plus. Please join our community today. Come visit us on our Circle platform. You can scan this QR code here to take you to our website where you'll see a lot more information about us. And finally, thank you so much again. Follow us on Blue Sky and on LinkedIn to get more updates about our various events. We're really grateful to have you here, and have a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, depending on where you're logging in from. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.